Yo guys, what's up? It's WarSpirit. Welcome to another Overwatch video. Going to be talking about the latest patch for the beta at this time, the major changes, my thoughts, and what's still to come for Overwatch. So, first thing I want to address is the gameplay you're seeing in the background here, relating directly to the title of this video and how, despite this being what I'd consider the best patch yet, the current and ongoing meta for the game has prevailed through it. So at first you might think you're watching your typical Tracer gameplay in the background here, playing a typical offense round on Dorado, but then you'll realize there are actually no tanks on my team, and then I'll tell you that in fact this is considered the strongest team composition in the game right now, and it has been for about the past 2 to 3 weeks as well. So it's not so good, especially considering there have been 2 major balance patches during that time. Let's take a look at this team comp first of all. It's really simple, it's very easy to play, and there's almost no counterplay to it. The team comp looks like this. You've got a Tracer and a Genji as your damage dealers, each of them with a Zenyatta buddy who keeps their healing harmony orbs on their partner, and then you've got a Symmetra to give all of these normally squishy characters plus 50 shields. So what you've got is these super buff Tracers and Genjis completely unkillable and shredding debuffed opponents on the enemy team. The final character can usually be pretty flexible. Lucio's normally the one that's used just to hang out with the double Zenyatas and the Symmetra on the back lines to keep them passively healing as well. After that point, you pretty much wait for the doors to open at the start of the game and then press W and left click and win. It's very simple. The best counter to this team composition is to run the exact same thing but play it better than your opponents. That's how serious this team composition is. In this match here, you'll see the enemy team try stacking Winstons to counter it. Normally that's pretty decent against hard to track Tracers and Genjis who are unable to deflect the lightning gun of Winston, but turns out it's a terrible idea here because the Winstons just get discarded by the Zenyatas and they die so fast to the Tracer, it's insane. The only other way people try to face off against this team comp is by running some maze in an attempt to slow down the fast moving Tracers and Genjis, and it works alright, but it's not exactly the hard counter to the cheesy team comp you'd be looking for, because usually cheesy team comps like this should have something that just shuts it down completely and makes teams usually opt to pick safer team comps initially rather than going cheese. So from this alone you'll see that there are still balance issues in the game and changes do need to come through before the game should launch. So let's look at what Blizzard has tried this past week to address the balance, and honestly after this patch I actually do think the game is looking really good balance wise, apart from that one crazy god composition. The most important thing that this patch highlights is Blizzard's willingness to try alternate options to balance heroes in the game. First off, for Genji, a couple of weeks ago in the first aggressive patch, Blizzard reduced Genji's health to 150. This week they've reverted that change, gave him back his 200 health, and instead reduced his shuriken damage by 20%, which is giving him quite a bit more survivability again, but making him work harder for the kills. It's really hard to tell right now which way is better, since Genji remains in a love-hate relationship with a lot of the community. Good Genji players can feel really unkillable and wipe your team easily, but when other people play him they feel helpless, and I'm not a Genji player myself. His playstyle doesn't really appeal to me at all, so don't judge me too harshly on the short Genji clip I have put in the second half of this video, but I'm pretty sure it's not the last of the Genji changes that we're ever going to see in Overwatch. So another hero that got some big changes was Mei, and recently I've been really enjoying playing Mei and I'm actually liking the changes Blizzard have made to her. Some other people not so much, but for me, yeah, I like them. So this time they've toned down the fire rate of her secondary fire and given it a damage drop off. A great change, since people had started using her as an alternate McCree without suffering the same way McCree suffers from damage drop off. So the changes to Mei show that Blizzard are actually willing to embrace damage drop off, which was one of my main concerns with the game that I highlighted in one of my previous videos. So instead of randomly headshotting Tracers across the whole map, Mei can now randomly headshot Tracers within a 40 meter range. So the change puts Mei back into her rightful role as a close range brawler hero, and she really excels at this role. She did get a little helping hand in that her left click ability, her primary fire, does freeze targets a little bit faster now too. Some other cool little changes in this patch are that Junkrat's ultimate Riptire got its health reduced from 150 to 100, so it's now not as super scary as it once was. And RNGesus got a nerf this patch. Hanzo's Scatter Arrow, woohoo, the most hated ability in the game, can no longer randomly headshot you, so expect less deaths to RNG Scatter skill shots. Incoming nerf to McCree's Fan the Hammer maybe. RNG abilities really shouldn't be so rewarding if we want to keep Overwatch a skill-based first-person shooter, I think. On to another of my favourite changes of the patch. Zarya got buffed, which is a direct buff to me since Zarya is my most played hero. Nothing too crazy though, they just increased the minimum damage of her particle cannon by 25%. Once you charge up to maximum energy with your particle barrier, you'll still be doing the same amount of damage. It's a buff to those players who just can't get their energy up to a decent level no matter what, and that's a cool buff. We're definitely seeing more people trying out Zarya in pubs. She did get another little buff, so without adding a new hero to the game, Blizzard has introduced a cleanse mechanic by simply giving this ability to Zarya's barrier shields. What's the cleanse for? Well, it removes debuffs from your allies. It already sort of did this since it prevented the slowing effects from Mei, but now it also removes Zenyatta Discord orbs. It's not massively impactful right now since your barriers have a 10-second plus cooldown and Zenyatta orbs have only a 1-second cooldown, so that's something Blizzard probably should have looked at a little bit more closely. The only way that it would be viable for Zarya to shield someone who was discarded is if they were taking damage anyway, and then Zenyatta would just reapply the orb, so it doesn't make much difference, just perhaps a longer cooldown on the Discord orb would be needed. And since Zenyatta is so strong in the meta right now with the God comp, most players are looking to place the blame on the strength of his fire and forget orbs. So there's a lot of discussion surrounding toning down the healing rate of Harmony orbs and reducing the damage bonus from Discord orbs. Both changes I think are essential to see, with perhaps one other change if Blizzard could continue to embrace damage drop off and maybe prevent Zenyatta from being a backline artillery bomber with random headshots hitting left, right and centre of the choke points. The final major change in this recent patch was a reduction in melee damage across all characters from 50 damage down to 30 damage, but also reducing the melee cooldown from 1.5 seconds to 1 second, meaning you can use melee more often. It's not a change that I really like at all. I've usually always hated melee in first person shooters. People who can't aim usually resort to melee spam, and the majority of shooters out there have a one-hit melee in them as well. Not cool, but for Overwatch you're never going to get a one-hit melee kill anyway. Minimum 3 hits, which would take a total of 4.5 seconds to execute. Impossible in such a fast moving game. Melee wasn't problematic, it was very useful to certain characters. Tracer punching to finish off opponents instead of reloading her pulse pistols, Genji with his melee and slice combo, they can nerf him in other ways, and Roadhog with his hook, shoot and melee combo. Not too bad for him since it doesn't prevent his combo, just makes it harder. It was also good to have that 50 burst damage on support characters who are the constant focus of close range harassers, and a quick punch from a support would be a great help in fending off those pesky flanks. I feel like it's going to be a hard one for Blizzard to change back. I did really prefer how it was though, but I think I can make do with how it is now anyway. I'm really enjoying Overwatch still, guys. This week I actually streamed 2 nights for over 6 hours each. Just really looking forward to launch and what's coming with it. Let me know if you enjoyed the video, guys. Thanks very much for watching again, and I shall see you in my next one. Bye bye.